On December 2nd, 1976, London's skies were disrupted by one of the strangest incidents in rock history. A 40-foot inflatable pig, built for a Pink Floyd album cover, broke free from its moorings above Battersea Power Station.
This is the actual spot where we flew the pig for the first time between the two chimneys.
The balloon drifted into restricted airspace, forced Heathrow Airport to delay flights, and triggered a police search that stretched across the city.
Everyone was beginning sort of to be partly amused, but partly thinking we might be caught up in one of the worst aviation disasters in the history of the planet.
Hours later, the pig came down in Kent, more than 30 miles away.
At 9 o'clock in the evening, I received a call from a farmer in Kent. He said, "Are you looking for a pink pig?" "Well, it's in my field frightening my cows."
What should have been a single photograph for an album sleeve became an aviation incident reported in newspapers across Britain. By late 1976, Pink Floyd were preparing to release their 10th studio album. Animals was a bleak commentary on modern society, inspired by George Orwell's Animal Farm, dividing humanity into dogs, pigs, and sheep.
It's moving away a little bit from the soundscapes that we did on the Wish You Were Here album into something that is a little more in your face and a little more rough and ready and more aggressive. The lyrics are a lot more aggressive.
The music was already recorded at Britannia Row Studios in Islington.
The big thing was the development of Britannia Row, our own recording studio. This was a fairly major departure for us.
And the band turned to Hypnosis, their trusted design team, for the visual concept. Storm Thorgerson and Aubrey Poe Powell wanted something powerful, monumental, and unmistakably industrial. They settled on Battersea Power Station, an Art Deco colossus on the south bank of the Thames.
But it's also the fact that it's a power station, so it's like, and that it's upside down, and also that there are 4 chimneys, you know, and there are 4 phalluses, and there were 4 people in the band. But then the idea of creating the event of a big inflatable pig flying over Battersea Power Station.
Battersea was no ordinary building. Constructed in 2 stages between 1929 and 1955, its twin stations, A and B, produced more than 500 megawatts at full capacity. In the 1950s, it supplied roughly a fifth of London's electricity. With 4 white chimneys rising 103 meters high, it was one of the most recognizable landmarks on the city's skyline. The building's sheer bulk, brickwork, and smokestacks represented the industrial machine, the perfect backdrop for an album about dehumanization and power. The cover required something more than just architecture. Roger Waters suggested a pig, the album's central symbol of corruption and greed, floating between the chimneys.
Okay, we're starting off with the idea of an inflatable pig. What else? Well, other inflatables. Well, let's make a nuclear family, and 2.5 children, or whatever.
To make this real, Hypnosis contracted Ballon Fabrique, a German company that had been building airships and giant inflatables since the early 20th century. The pig was nicknamed Algie. It measured around 40 feet long, 12 meters from snout to tail, and stood nearly 30 feet high when inflated. It was fabricated from heavy-duty canvas coated in polyurethane, designed to hold helium for hours at a time. Steel cables were attached to anchor points on the ground. The first attempt to photograph the pig was scheduled for December 1st, 1976. The production team arrived early at Battersea and began inflating the balloon. To guard against disaster, Powell had hired a licensed marksman armed with a rifle. His task was to shoot a hole in the pig if it broke free. But the weather refused to cooperate. London was blanketed in thick cloud and fog, with visibility reduced to a few hundred meters. The pig rose between the chimneys, but the helicopter could not capture a clear shot. After hours of waiting, the session was abandoned. The pig was deflated and stored overnight. The following day, December 2nd, conditions improved slightly, though winds were stronger. The team re-inflated Algie and prepared for a second attempt.
The Orwellian idea of animal farm and of people characterised anthropomorphically as animals just seemed kind of neat.
Crucially, they had not rehired the marksman for this session, assuming the tethers would hold. Around midday, a sudden gust of wind pulled the pig violently upward. The steel rings securing the ropes failed. Witnesses on the ground saw the massive figure slip free and rise quickly into the sky. Within moments, the 40-foot pig was drifting eastward over London, completely uncontrolled. The timing could not have been worse. Heathrow Airport, located just west of London, was already Europe's busiest hub.
The pilot of the police helicopter certainly couldn't climb as fast as the pig could. I think the pig had a climb rate of over 2,000 feet a minute, and the helicopter couldn't stay with it.
In 1976, it handled 27.2 million passengers and more than 750 flights each day. As the balloon rose into airspace, pilots approaching Heathrow began reporting a large, unidentified object directly in their path. Controllers in the tower could not risk collisions. Departures were delayed and incoming aircraft were rerouted. For several hours, one of the world's busiest airports operated under disruption because of a flying pig. Police were alerted and helicopters were scrambled to track the balloon. But Algie was already climbing high and drifting out of central London. Eyewitness reports describe the balloon floating over Essex before turning southeast. Some Londoners claimed to see a giant pink shape gliding silently above rooftops, while others thought it was an advertising stunt. In reality, it was completely unplanned, and Powell later recalled the panic when he realized the pig was gone. He received a phone call from authorities asking if he was the man looking for a pig. By late afternoon, after drifting more than 30 miles, Algie began to lose altitude. Helium seeped out of the seams as the fabric cooled in the upper atmosphere. The balloon descended into farmland near Chilham in Kent. Local farmers reported livestock panicking as the massive pig touched down in their fields. Police secured the site, and the balloon was recovered with relatively little damage. It was transported back to London for repair. The following morning, December 3rd, newspapers ran headlines about the bizarre event, from the Times to local dailies. Radio shows joked about pigs flying over London. Despite the embarrassment, Powell was determined to finish the cover.
Animals is one of my favourite things because of the stories attached to it about the pig flying away. And everybody said, well, that must have been publicity stuff. Well, it wasn't. It was terrifying. Especially when you saw the thing. There's a photograph in the book where you see the pig going up and there's a jet airliner going across the Heathrow.
On December 3rd, a third session was organized at Battersea. This time, the pig was not flown. Instead, photographers captured the power station under clear skies. Later, the image of Algie was composited into the frame in post-production. The final cover of Animals, released on January 21st, 1977, shows the pig suspended between the chimneys, but it is a product of darkroom manipulation rather than a single photograph. The incident generated enormous publicity. What should have been a routine photo session became national news. Instead of harming the band, the story amplified their reputation for grand, surreal gestures. The runaway pig became one of rock's most famous accidents. For the release of Animals, it ensured press coverage far beyond the usual music pages. The pig itself did not disappear after the cover. It became a recurring element in Pink Floyd's stage shows. During the 1977 In the Flesh tour, enormous pigs floated above stadium audiences, sometimes painted with political slogans or graffiti. In the Wall concerts of 1980 and 1981, the pig reappeared, hovering above the audience as part of the spectacle. Roger Waters adopted it into his solo performances, where the pig often carried modern political messages from anti-war slogans to corporate logos. The 1976 escape was not the last. On April 27, 2008, during the Coachella Festival in California, another inflatable pig broke free during a Roger Waters performance. This version was even larger, around 40 feet tall and 30 feet wide, with slogans printed across its body. Overnight, the balloon drifted away, and the next day was found in 2 separate pieces in nearby neighborhoods. Just like in 1976, the story made international headlines. The pig had once again escaped its handlers, cementing its reputation as an unpredictable icon. Meanwhile, Battersea Power Station itself changed dramatically. Station A was shut down in 1975, just before the photo shoot. Station B closed in 1983. For decades, the site was abandoned, its 4 chimneys decaying and the brickwork crumbling. Numerous redevelopment plans failed until the 2010s, when a major restoration transformed the building into a complex of housing, offices, and retail. Yet for millions of people worldwide, Battersea remains associated first and foremost with Pink Floyd's Pig, an image that has outlasted the power station's working life. The facts of December 2nd, 1976 are simple. A 40-foot helium-filled pig, weighing hundreds of kilograms, built by a German balloon manufacturer, snapped free during a photo shoot at Battersea Power Station. Heathrow Airport, with 27 million passengers annually, delayed and rerouted flights. Police helicopters tracked the balloon as it drifted for more than 30 miles before landing in Kent. It was recovered largely intact and patched for reuse. The next day, newspapers reported the story nationwide. Weeks later, the album Animals was released with a cover that combined real photography and composited imagery. In hindsight, the accident became one of Pink Floyd's greatest publicity boosts. The band never planned for the pig to escape, and Aubrey Powell has admitted the failure was due to poor preparation on the second day. Yet the image of pigs flying over London captured public imagination. It turned an album launch into a cultural event. Today, the story stands as a reminder that accidents sometimes create legends. Pink Floyd set out to photograph a pig. Instead, they ended up grounding planes, alarming farmers, and writing an unforgettable page in the history of rock.